Welcome to Storytime with Angel. I'm Angel Martinez. This is Finn. We're going to be reading from one of my own books today, and that would be No Fae is an Island, which is book 4 of the Endangered Fae series. The basic premise of Endangered Fae is that during the revolution, the Industrial Revolution, Danu, the queen of the Sidhe, closed the veil between our world and the other world. And that's a very old Celtic Gaelic concept, that there is a separation between our world and the world of magical beings. And after that closure, there was no longer any movement between the worlds. In Finn, we have a puka who was left behind during the closure and got stuck in our world. He wakes up from the dreaming and finds that he's pretty much by himself on the human side of things. That's book 1. Book 2, Diego, we have the opening of the veil. And during this book, we have the Fae trying to rejoin the human world with some pretty nasty consequences. In Semper Fae, we have our lovely Zach Morrison, who is a retired Marine, who gets involved with the Fae, and this is mostly about what happens in the aftermath of the Fae rejoining the human world, and some of the things that happen when the magic of the human world and the magic of the other world start to mix again. Some of that is a little bit disastrous. No Fae is an Island has to do with the aftermath of what happens, especially to Diego in Semper Fae, and this is about his return after his exile, and some of the folks that were involved with him. It's also about what happens in the world as the world is trying to deal with the sudden realization that humans are not alone, that we have all these magical creatures that we have to live with. Some countries deal very well with that, and obviously some don't. All right, the blurb for No Fae is an Island says, 3 years ago, Danu banished Diego for a time from the human world. 3 years and 3 days doesn't seem like that long to be away from home, but living among the wild Fae can change a man, and the human world returns the favor by changing while he's gone. There's a vampire on Tierman Island's security force. A curious Selkies followed him home. So much to do to keep the world safe, but Diego's no longer sure he has the right to interfere. Theo Aguilar started his vampire life on the wrong side of the law. He's killed, and he knows he's dangerous if he doesn't stay in control every moment. But the Fae took him in, and Prince Lou has given him a position of trust. So when Diego and Finn are arrested on a diplomatic mission far from home, he knows his duty. He's striking out on his own to rescue them, a lone vigilante once again, this time for the good guys. The only glitch? The Selkie, Limpet, can't seem to understand the alone part. All right. So in this scene that I'm going to read, in this little excerpt, Diego and Finn have gone with a small security force to a fictional country in the Arabian desert that's not very Fae and magic friendly. The Canadian government has asked them to intervene because there are 3 college students who have been imprisoned because of illegal magical activity. Unfortunately, Theo got stuck standing out on the tarmac. This isn't really good for a vampire, so he's not in the best of shape right now. A little bit of sunstroke going on. All right. So, No Fae is an Island by Angel Martinez. Theo woke in a haze of pain and hunger. The knives stabbing into his head made it harder to think. The sharpness of the blood need frightened him. This shouldn't be happening. I fed before we left the island. I should have a week at least. Worse still, they hadn't locked him away. Someone sat beside him, clutching his hand. Steady thrum of pulse beating against his skin. Scent of hot blood near, so very near. Go, he managed to whisper, though his throat felt raw and a growl started in his chest. Through the rising, pounding hunger, he latched onto the person's scent. Limpet. Run, please. Why would I do that? You just woke up. Limpet's hissing whisper grated on his frayed nerves. Humans are shouting downstairs. I think it's safer here with you. They left and came back, and now there's all this... Yeah, Limpet! Theo slitted his eyes open, grateful for the drawn curtains and dim lamplight. He wrenched his hand from Limpet's, gritting his teeth against the growing need. Leave the room. Close the door, or you'll be dinner. The Selkie's black eyes grew huge as he knocked the chair over in his attempt to back away. Theo expected him to flee. Any sensible person would have. He knew how he looked, eyes red and half-mad, fangs extended, hands shaking with need, like a crazed junkie, that's how. He just needed a few minutes alone to pull himself together. But Limpet stopped, still within reach, and shook the hair back from his eyes with a lift of his chin that screamed forced bravado. You fed from other Fae. The humans told me I could help you. I'm not in control, Theo grated out as he curled into a ball and buried his face in the pillow. Your scent is making me crazy. Come mierda, Selkie. You are. Limpet's soft tenor shook and cracked, but he took a step closer. You haven't attacked me. Theo snarled in frustration. Go get Kurt. Oh, you're an idiot. You think I'm a monster. Why are you still here? You're... Limpet swallowed hard, and Theo fought not to think about his Adam's apple sliding up and down his long, beautiful throat. You're not a monster. You're Theo. He heard all the yelling downstairs. Something had gone wrong. He had to find out, but he couldn't leave the room, not like this. Kurt had said he would volunteer in an emergency, but feeding from human males was hard in too many ways. If it wasn't a violent feeding, the sexual charge lacing it made the process horribly uncomfortable. Sure, if he had someone who loved him, like his friend Jasper did, feeding would have been easy, even wonderful. As a non-human, Limpet was actually a better choice. Sit, Theo growled. Don't move from there. He waited until Limpet settled on the edge of the chair as if it were made of eggshells. Wrist. Don't you need a throat to feed from? How will you... Shh. It's safer this way. Safer if I only offer on my wrist, or safer if I'm quiet? Will this hurt? How much do you take? Will I bleed all over the floor? Shut up, please. Just shut up. Limpet clamped his lips shut and held out his left arm, which shook as badly as Theo's hand. Great. Nothing like fear to make the predator reactions worse. With exaggerated care, Theo turned on his side and slid his hand under Limpet's forearm. Warmth seeped into his fingers, the accelerated thump of a living pulse driving spikes of need through him. He shivered, resting his forehead on his arm and breathing in little sips. None of the cliché things he wanted to say, trust me, I won't hurt you, just relax, made it past his clenched teeth. He didn't think he could get any more words out past the scarlet drumbeat in his head. There was a whimper. He wasn't sure if it was his or Limpet's. Then Limpet moved in closer and stroked his hair. It's all right. I'm not a fragile human. Let me help you. Sea, salt, blood, musk. This close, Limpet's scent escalated from maddening to a full cry assault. Theo dug the fingers of his free hand into the mattress, fighting hard with his bestial side. If he lost his grip, even for an instant, he would become a raving, mindless hunter. Everyone in the building would be at risk. Limpet was wrong. He was a monster. Forcing himself to move with excruciating deliberation, as if he had to draw each movement anew, cell animation style, he hovered over Limpet's wrist, squeezing his eyes shut as he leaned down to lick over the vein. Now the Selkie did whimper, but instead of tensing and trying to pull away, the muscles in his forearm relaxed under Theo's grip. The angle was awkward. Most of his Fae feeders preferred to hold him when he fed. Those huge warrior types seemed to have an overwhelming urge to comfort him while he took blood from them. Go on, Limpet whispered, soft and soothing rather than his usual sotto voce hiss. I'm here. No more slow motion. The bite had to be quick and clean. Theo opened his mouth, positioned his fangs carefully, and bit down. The sensation of teeth piercing skin went straight to his groin. That didn't happen often with a Fae feeding. He shifted to hide his growing erection. Damn it, where are the rest of my clothes? Concentrate. Pull the fangs gently so the flesh won't tear. Clamp on tight and suck hard. If he ever did have a lover again, at least he would have the suction part down. Above him, Limpet drew in a shuddering breath. He squirmed around, slid off the chair to kneel beside the bed, then laid his head on Theo's shoulder. Such a strange thing to do, so trusting, almost tender. The oddness of it helped him to stay present and sane. After a few good pulls, enough to ease the pain the sun had caused, and before the Fae blood buzz slid over into a disabling high, Theo let go, licking at the little punctures to help close them. It was hardly necessary with the Fae, they healed so quickly, but it always felt more polite. Still draped over him, Limpet asked, "Better?" Now Theo had to fight the urge to wrap his arms around Limpet. He sat up instead with a hand over his lap. "Yes, I have to get downstairs now." A little Fae drunk, he had to steady himself on the nightstand when he pulled on his pants. It wasn't too bad, though. He wasn't falling over and giggling as he did after a she-feeding. The yelling had died down to an occasional angry shouted sentence now, which could be good or bad. Theo yanked on a t-shirt and left his boots in gear, more anxious by the second to know what was happening. He yanked the door open and was about to rush out when something urged him to glance back. Limpet stood in the middle of the room, eyes just as huge as they had been before, shifting from one foot to the other. "You better come too." When Limpet didn't budge, Theo grabbed his hand and tugged him along. "You'll probably explode if you have to wait alone." The unhappy, anxious look persisted, and Theo could have smacked himself. Thank you for helping me. Thank you." He must have been a touch more drunk than he thought, since Limpet's smile made his chest feel tight and strange. Well, there we go. That's Limpet and Theo from No Fae is an Island, and that is from MLR Press, Manlow Romance Press. Obviously, it's on all of the usual distribution points as well, Amazon and All Romance and Barnes & Noble. This is book 4 of the Endangered Fae series. I do suggest they actually be read in order because you're going to miss a lot if you start with 4. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.